Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of my weekly presentation, Legal Ease, where I try to educate the consumer and my clients and potential clients about important issues regarding personal injury law, and insurance issues that would concern them and could possibly affect them very, very seriously in the event they're involved in a motor vehicle accident. Today, this is my pre-Thanksgiving show, and I just want to, before I start, wish everybody a very healthy and happy holiday. Thanksgiving this year is very different than we're used to with COVID, and perhaps we are sort of locked down or not going to be able to visit and have the kind of celebrations that we're used to having. We should really count ourselves lucky, though, particularly in this country, because we have so many good things that we are able to share with each other, even under these circumstances, and we should always keep that in mind. But not to get too preachy, welcome to the show. And if you like what you hear today, please feel free to smash the like button and share, comment, or like below. And remember, I appreciate your feedback and your criticism, so please feel free to make suggestions, ask questions. In fact, I dedicate entire segments to questions sometimes. Hey, Michael Isaac is here today. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? Mike is an excellent attorney in the Tampa Bay area. He practices in the areas of personal injury and criminal law, and is quite an expert. And really appreciate the fact that he's tuning in. Well, the numbers don't lie, and the statistics in Florida show an annual number of motor vehicle accidents that's simply staggering. And this was reported by the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles back in 2018, that there were nearly 403,626 accidents involving automobiles. They were reported in those accidents, 255,353 of them involved injuries, whereas 3,135 of them involved fatalities. Those numbers don't lie, and they do not appear to be going down. So obviously, motor vehicle accidents are a very real and serious thing that could happen to anyone in the state of Florida, much less any state. Thank Catherine Engstrom. Catherine, thank you for tuning in. It's great to see you. Thanks for taking the time this evening. Now, understand, I don't sell insurance. That's not my job. I don't profit from the sale of insurance. I simply try to educate people, as I do with my clients and potential clients every day, about how to best protect themselves in the event something happens, like a traffic accident, a motor vehicle accident. A couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of presenting my good friend Craig Most from Most Insurance, and he went through the types of insurance coverages that you should carry in great detail and answered a lot of very, very important questions. And I hope you all found that edition of Legalese helpful. And I'm happy that he came and really, really did a great job, as he always does. In fact, if you ever have insurance questions, Craig Most at Most Insurance is a fantastic guide and person to call and have those questions answered. But as a personal injury attorney, there's really nothing more upsetting to me when a potential client comes to my office because they have been, or one of their loved ones has been, hurt in a motor vehicle accident by persons who are either underinsured, inadequately insured, or not insured at all. What's even more upsetting is people are just never educated as to how to protect themselves and their loved ones as far as the types of insurance that they should carry and what they're going to need, and how to purchase it from reputable carriers. Unfortunately, there are a lot of substandard carriers in the state of Florida who are able to convince their insureds, or their agents who sell their policies, convince their customers to underinsure, or as I like to call it, self-insure. Because anything that you're not covered for, any damage that you cause to person or property that you're not covered for through some form of insurance, you are self-insured for. Now, most of us carry insurance on our homes, and that'll cover incidents that occur on or around the home, may even certain incidents that occur outside of the home. But you need to be covered. And in that respect, most of the time we are. But when it comes to auto insurance, people really seem to be easily convinced to take the easy way out, and to it's not the place where you want to cut costs or cut corners. A lot of these substandard carriers and their agents will convince people that the minimums are full coverage. We're going to sell you full coverage, but in reality, they're just selling them what is required minimally under the statutes in Florida to operate a motor vehicle. And this promise of full coverage is really just selling them $10,000 in no-fault benefits, which benefit them if they've been involved in an accident and will pay for their a portion of their medical care, or $10,000 in property damage liability for any vehicles that they damage or property damage that costs to others. And $10,000 is mandatory, but really it is inadequate, because if you were to cause damage to a vehicle that was a high-end vehicle, then $10,000 is just not going to do it. And once again, you're self-insured, and the at-fault or the not at-fault driver's insurance company will come after you to get the money back that they pay to repair the vehicle if they have collision coverage on the policy. So, people are being sold policies that are inadequate and really don't protect the consumer at all. So what types of coverages do you need to carry to protect your family? And Craig Most had gone into this, but I'm just going to touch on it again, particularly with the holidays coming up and people's policies may be switching up at the beginning of the new year. You want to get on this, and you want to ask your insurance agent about this, and don't let them off the hook. Make sure that they write a policy that's going to be adequate for you. But first, you want to make sure that you're carrying adequate amounts of bodily injury liability insurance. Bodily injury liability insurance, unlike PIP, which is required, bodily injury liability insurance is the kind of insurance you carry in case you cause an accident or substantially cause an accident and you injure other people's bodies. You hurt people in an accident. In that case, this type of insurance would be available to supplement the other driver's no-fault benefits and make sure that they have a place to go to reimburse for medical expenses, and that place is not your pocket or your bank account or your properties that are not your homestead or vehicles. So you can purchase bodily. Now, and here's the thing about bodily injury insurance, because it's sort of counterintuitive. It makes all the sense in the world that this should be required under Florida law, because if it were, then there would be coverage in any situation. But it's not required. It's not mandatory. Unlike PIP and property damage, bodily injury liability is not required under Florida statutes. So drivers can drive without it, and many do all the time. And rather than add it for some extra costs, they decide to go without it, and they decide to roll the dice. But you do not want to be without this, because you can be gone after personally. And it isn't even a question of them going after your assets, which they can do if you have certain assets. But if you do not carry adequate insurance or no bodily injury insurance, you could potentially lose your driving privilege if you're unable to reimburse the injured party for their medical expenses resulting from the accident. This situation gets reported to Tallahassee. They send you a notice of suspension of your driver's license, and they require you to make good on paying the other person's medical bills and carry a form of insurance called FR44 insurance, which you'd have to carry for several years and would be at a minimum of $100,000, $300,000 bodily injury liability, and can be extremely costly, like SR22 insurance that DUI people convicted of DUIs have to carry for a time as well. But if you want to carry bodily injury insurance, you can carry it in increments of $10,000, $20,000, meaning $10,000 per person injured, but no more than $20,000 no matter how many people are injured. Although I recommend you carry higher limits. 1020 is a minimal policy. It isn't very much. Carry at least 2550, but I would recommend somewhere more in the neighborhood of 100,000, 300,000, maybe $500,000. Or 250,000, $500,000, if you can afford to do that, because you will be protecting yourself much better, and it's very much worth it if the bad thing were to happen. Second, you may consider adding something called medical payment coverage. Unlike your no-fault benefits, which are mandatory, and you don't owe no-fault benefits back. If no-fault benefits pay your 80% of your medical bills up to $10,000 minus your deductible, that PIP money is never paid back. you can supplement your no-fault benefits with medical payment coverage, which is not a statutory mandatory coverage, but it's one that you can contract for under your automobile policy. And if you do that, you may be required to pay a portion of it back. Your insurance company may have a lien on a bodily injury settlement from a third party if you have medical payment coverage, but at least you have it. And then it'll cover 100% of your medical expenses up to a certain point. You can carry it in increments of $5,000, $10,000, or however much your insurer will allow you to carry. But medical payment coverage is very, very handy. It comes in very handy. It's very helpful. And the last, and this is perhaps the most important type of insurance coverage you carry in an auto policy, your uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist coverage. Now, we call this UM or UIM, but UM coverage, uninsured motorist coverage, is the type of coverage that you purchase in the event the driver that causes an accident hurts you or hurts somebody you care about, your loved one, your family member. And if that driver is not carrying bodily injury liability or not enough to meet the medical needs of the injured person, then uninsured motorist coverage will be provided if you purchase it by your insurance company. Will then stand in the shoes of the other driver to make up for the shortfall to the extent that you purchase it and however much you purchase. Now, you cannot purchase uninsured motorist unless you carry bodily injury liability. Remember, bodily injury is what you purchase to protect other people you might hurt. Uninsured motorist coverage stands in the shoes of an inadequately or non-insured at-fault driver to supplement your ability to recover for your injuries. And this is a type of coverage that in order to purchase it, you have to purchase bodily injury liability, and you cannot purchase more uninsured motorist coverage than you can purchase bodily injury liability. So if you're carrying $25.50 in bodily injury, you can only purchase $25.50 in UM, whereas $100,000, $300,000 bodily injury liability, you can purchase $100,000, $300,000 UM coverage to protect you. But you can stack your coverage by the number of vehicles that you write under the policy. So while you may have $100,000, $300,000 bodily injury liability, you can purchase $100,000, $300,000 uninsured motorist and stack it on the number of vehicles that you own. So if you have two vehicles under a policy, then that would be $100,000, $300,000 twice. So $200,000, $600,000. And you can provide more UM than bodily injury in that respect, which is a good thing. And uninsured motorist coverage cannot be waived unless you waive it in a specific document. So when you see this UM election form, make sure you always opt in to purchase uninsured motorist benefits and make sure that you purchase a good amount of it. And also obviously make sure your bodily injury liability is adequate as well so that you can purchase UM coverage and consider stacking it. And then that's very, very important. You don't want to forget that because that can really, really make up for the shortfall. And remember, other drivers out there, maybe to the tune of 25% of other drivers are non-insured or inadequately insured for the injuries that they cause, or they're self-insured and don't have anything to really go after. After all, people insure things they have to protect. And if they don't have things to protect, things for you to potentially go after, they don't insure them. So those are the types of coverages that I would recommend. And obviously, if you've been involved in an accident, call the law offices of Christopher DeBarry today at 727-656-7852, or you can reach me at chris@cdbinjurylaw.com via email. I can answer your questions. There is one last thing that I want to talk to you about today, and this has something to do with, nothing to do with really the types of coverages as I just discussed, but this just came up recently. And you see it all the time. You see people driving down the roads in their vehicles, and they have attached advertising signage to the side of their vehicles, usually through magnets or stickers, and they just have wraps that are placed on their cars by companies that do signage. Now, it's very, very important that before you advertise on your vehicle, you have to clear it with your insurance carrier. So if you're carrying a commercial policy and you've got signage on your vehicle, then presumably, because you're using it for advertising, using it for business, then your business policy should cover any event that occurs with that vehicle. And I'm talking about if you're injured and you need to use your no-fault benefits, if you injure somebody else and you need to use a bodily injury, if you need to use uninsured motorist coverage, then you want to make sure that if it's a business, that if your vehicle is using commercial signage, that you have a commercial policy, or They're not always easy for every business to get, but if you have a personal policy of insurance, tell your insurance carrier that you want to add a business use rider to the policy so that you can have the signage and not have it disqualify you from coverage. But you need to inform the insurance company ahead of time, hey, I want to put signs for my business on the side of my vehicle. Do I have to open a business policy, or can I add a personal or a business use rider to my current personal policy and see what they say? But either way, you've put them on notice. You're then in a position to purchase the proper coverage, and you should not be disqualified for having commercial signage in the vehicle if you're in an accident, whether you're at fault or not. And folks, thank you very much. That's all for this evening. And once again, I wish you a very, very happy and safe and wonderful Thanksgiving with your families. And be safe. And I hope everyone is very, very happy and grateful for what we all have, particularly in this country. And we are in such a great place and compared to many other places in the world where they don't have the things that we have, and they're not as lucky or fortunate as we are. But anyway, like I said, not to get too preachy, but I just want to bring that up so we can be reminded of that. And thank you very much, folks. And once again, please if you like what you hear today, you can share it or comment. And please, I appreciate your feedback. But I will see you after Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday.